YouTube, it's me, Farfa, a Yu-Gi-Oh content creator and player who has never really played Magic before outside of a couple of hours. There's been a lot of drama and stuff going on in your community, and I've got the one Jamon here, link in the description to his channel, for some Magic content. You're an expert in this, and I wanted you specifically because you used to be at least, a pretty good Yu-Gi-Oh player, and now you do Magic.
Yeah, I got out of it when I could.
Okay, dude, the betrayal. So yeah, basically TLDR. There was a commander banded restricted announcement. Explain this to like a Yu-Gi-Oh player in the Yu-Gi-Oh brain, especially when considering the fact that this is, I feel like from what I've seen, ban lists that are quite normal for us. Like the expensive cards get hit, but you know what? Actually, it makes more sense if you just provide some context. What is Commander? What is going on? Why is this such a big deal?
This might be so crazy for Yu-Gi-Oh people to wrap their heads around, but it's a multiplayer singleton game, 100 cards, 99 cards, and a commander. Your commander is like, say I want to play my Dark Magician deck, right?
Yeah.
And my Dark Magician is a card I can summon whenever I want to because it's outside of my deck. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
In a separate spot called my command zone, and at some point you can just play your Dark Magician out. You know what I mean?
Oh,
And then
I for some reason I thought in Commander you had to draw your Planeswalker is your command, but I guess in Commander it's literally your deck master.
yes, and then your whole deck is based around your commander. So if your commander likes to draw cards, and you could have cards in your deck that say, oh, whenever you draw cards, you do this thing,
Yeah.
and then you can have your fun with your friends.
Mm-hmm.
And you can play heads up. No one really plays heads up commander or one-on-one. But you can usually it's 4 players. Okay, everyone's playing singleton, and everyone has their own commander. And there's sometimes you can have more than one commander. If it has partner, you can partner with multiple commanders, and every card in your deck has to be in a color identity of your commander. So if your Dark Magician is dark, right? Dark and a spellcaster, let's say, everything in your deck has to either work with darks or spellcasters, or be dark or be spellcaster.
Okay, sick. But the thing to consider is that this is not official, right? Technically, or is it official, or
It wasn't an official format for the longest time, but like now it's official. It's been recognized by Wizards of the Coast, people who make Magic. It's like the Konami of Magic for the longest time, but it wasn't really official, but it's official. There's a lot of people that say, "Oh, it's not an official format," but it's an official format.
when did it become recognized as an official format, or is that still like a gray area?
It's a little bit of a gray area, but I would say like 10 years ago. It's been a long time.
Cool. Okay, cool. There's a commander format. It's a Battle City 4-way duel.
Exactly.
What they banned 4 cards. Is that normal? Does that normally happen, or what's going on here?
It's pretty abnormal. There hasn't been a ban in like years. It's been like 4 or 5, 6 years, something like that, since somebody's been banned in Commander. The thing is, Commander, you can play any card ever, and the Yu-Gi-Oh players are like, yeah, I know, right? Because you can always play any card ever. But in Magic, it's a really big deal. There's different formats in Magic and different ways that you can play cards, and also there are different legalities of cards within different formats. A card could be banned in one format and also legal in a different format, and they're both in the same format, but one's banned, one's legal. There's a bunch of different formats. I think there's probably like 15 formats of Magic. There's like 3 formats of Yu-Gi-Oh, right? It's like, no, 4, like what, traditional, like the one that everyone plays right now. There's
In Yu-Gi-Oh, it's basically just
Edison and Goat, right?
Yeah, it's basically just current is like basically the only one, and then sometime Wizard formats. Like pretty much, there's only like 2 officially supported formats. No one really plays traditional.
Yeah, exactly. I got flamed in the comments on one of my videos saying I was like, this is not legal anywhere. It's like traditional, and I was like, come on, guys.
The only traditional tournament I can think of that's ever been held was by me 5 years ago. But anyway, so yeah, it's its own unique format, and now it's got 4 ban cards immediately. So
yes,
what is that wrong?
What you were asking before, it's not really unlikely that something gets banned in Commander. It just doesn't happen all the time, and the card has to be crazy good for it to get banned. And also you start out with double the life. So in Yu-Gi-Oh, you'd start out with 16,000 life, and if it went 4 ways, it would be actually an interesting experiment to even do this in Yu-Gi-Oh. Probably would never work, but you start out with 40 life instead of 20, and so cards that have a massive advantage if you have more life, and it was printed in a time period where Commander didn't exist. So there's cards like Grizzlebrand, which maybe I can show you the picture of it or something, but it says pay 7 life, draw 7 cards, and in oh yeah.
Well, the one that catches my eye.
Pay 7 life, draw 7. Yeah.
The one that caught my eye is like the one that was banned, which is Mana Crypt, which is
yeah.
This is a 0 mana, 2 mana. That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I'll tell you about that. It's like Ancient Leaf. Ancient Leaf would be like insta banned.
Yeah.
If like Commander existed in Yu-Gi-Oh, so there's like cards like that are banned. Also, there's cards that are like super duper powerful that are insta banned, like Time Walk, which is like 2 mana, take an extra turn. There's the cards in the Power 9 that are banned, like 1 mana, draw 3 cards. It's like, Pot of Greed, draw 3 additional cards. That card's also banned. So going off of what you were saying about Mana Crypt, and the reason why that's banned is that in 1v1, it's still a very, very broken, powerful card, but 3 life is a lot more to pay in a 1v1 when you're at 20 life than it is when you're at 40 life. It literally is a free card to tap to, a tap to create 2 colorless mana, which allows for super quick starts, and that's one of the reasons why they wanted to put Jeweled Lotus and Mana Crypt specifically on the Commander ban list, is because it adds to super quick starts. And when each player is playing, and there's 4 players, and each deck is singleton 100 cards, and one person has a Jeweled Lotus or a Mana Crypt, and the other people don't, it puts that person in a very advantageous position.
Wait, is Commander Highlander?
It's Highlander, yeah.
And wait, you just have to just forehead draw the Mana Crypt turn 1? That's absurd.
Yeah, you just do that.
I got really small hands. How am I shuffling 100 cards?
Oh, that's another point of contention too. There have been decks that have been banned in non-Commander due to dexterity shuffling issues, which doesn't make any sense because Commander exists.
Okay, so these just sound like no-brainer bans. Why are people upset about banning something that literally just cheats like mana so hard?
Like, why are they banning the cards? I mean, there's
no, not why are they banned. Why are people upset that they're banned?
Because they're fun, and you get to do the broken thing. It's like a lot of Magic players are closet Yu-Gi-Oh players. They just like doing the broken thing, but they don't realize that they should just play Yu-Gi-Oh.
But okay, but why is this causing such a controversy on like Twitter and stuff? Like, I even saw like the professor talk about how like employees were getting targeted for this decision and stuff like that. So because I see these cards, I'm just like, yeah, it's a no-brainer. Why would you not ban Ancient Leaf if life points were 16k? Like, that's just Pot of Greed. Like, of course you would ban that card, right? Do people not think these cards are broken?
No, they do think they're broken. And the one of the draws for Commander is you can like bling out your deck, since you only need 1 copy of a card per deck. You don't have to have 3 Ash Blossom. There's 4 copies of a card in Magic. So let's say 4 Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring when it got printed was like $80 secret rare, right? You don't have to pay you don't have to get 4 of those. You can get just 1 super high rarity version of it. Like you can get like the 25th century or whatever Yu-Gi-Oh players call those. You can just get that 1 rarity of the card because you only need 1. So you're not going to get like the lowest rarity of a card most of the time because you want your cool little fancy version of it because you only need 1. So people are getting this really expensive card, but also a really fancy version. Also, the card's just expensive altogether anyway. It's like $80 for a Jeweled Lotus, or
even the cheapest version,
fancy version of Jeweled Lotus. Yeah, the fancy Jeweled Lotuses were more than that. Dox Extortionist was super expensive. Mana Crypt super expensive, like money wise. So people, you're more incentivized to get it because like to power up your deck, to make your deck more fun, you can buy this 1 card 1 time and it will be legal forever, quote unquote, right? Because Commander doesn't really ban cards that often, and also you can play super powerful cards like Soul Ring, which is exactly like Mana Crypt, but it's 1 mana instead of 0, and you don't have to pay 3 life.
So this is the thing that I guess is not really computing, because as a Yu-Gi-Oh player, our cards do cost like, a staple will just be like $70-$80, and then in a year's time it'll completely crash because they will ban it or they'll reprint it hard. Um, does Magic not
Yes,
have this standard flow of ban and print and ban and print, or?
it does have a standard flow of ban and print, but Jewel Lotus specifically and Mana Crypt were reprinted, have been reprinted, I would say 2 to 4 times per card. Even Mana Crypt got a reprint that reprinted it 6 times in the same set. Or maybe it was 5 times. Something like, no, it was 6 times. One for each color and one colorless. But the thing is, they reprint the cards at higher rarities most of the time, so it just gets more expensive. They don't do like Yu-Gi-Oh, where they have like a BL, like Battles of Legend, where they reprint everything and everything's cheaper. They just don't do that. Well,
Right.
sometimes they do. Sometimes they reprint a card over and over and over again. It comes out so many times that it decreases the price. But that they usually do that for cards that are like $20 that decreases the price of like $5. They don't do that for like Mana Crypt or Jewel Lotus.
So the
Those are too
controversy
iconic.
here basically is that this is a for fun format that doesn't really get policed, which is now banning staple cards that were not really printed as aggressively. So people are upset that the for fun format is now getting those expensive cards banned. Is
Yes,
really
and
what I'm getting at.
people are sad because they got their really expensive version of the card. They only need to play one, and even Dockside Extortionist was reprinted a bunch of times. Going back to the reprinted thing, the card on top of Jewel Lotus that was reprinted. I don't know how many times that card was printed, like 5 6 times. It's still really expensive. Since Commander is the most popular version of Magic now, the card just stays expensive unless it was reprinted like 20 times. So yeah, it's a combination of the cards being like super expensive, and you're taking the fun away from taking all the more powerful cards away.
Okay. I think I kind of sympathize with the idea that it's a for fun format, so why are you really policing it that hard? But at the same time, like, when I read just how broken Jeweled Lotus and Mana Crypt is, it's like, well, isn't this like a given? Wasn't this like sort of, don't people kind of rationalize and understand, yeah, these cards are crazy, maybe they should be banned, right? Like,
Yeah,
this
I
is,
mean, when you play against some of these cards, you're like, oh, that card should just be banned. Like that
well,
card's like way too good.
because this is the thing, right? It's like Magic is, Commander's 100 cards, singleton. Like, it must be really frustrating to be playing in a Commander pool or whatever it's called, and then one person has opened Mana Cryptistic Studies. I know that combo. Um, like,
Wow,
what are
pretty
you
good.
supposed to do? Like, you just lose.
Yeah, if someone goes land mana cryptistic study, the game's over. You start the next game.
It's like, okay, right. So it's not really about, but here's the thing, right? So because it's a for fun format, I interpret this kind of as like, okay, well, if everyone is just playing for fun, why are they playing these cards anyway? Like, it's like, oh, let's have a duel, let's play for fun. And then it's like, oh, we're going to play a Snake Eye mirror match with Maxi. It's like, that's what, like, why wouldn't you agree to just not have those cards?
You see, what Yu-Gi-Oh players would do, they would just have the gentleman's agreement and then just sideboard in the Maxi.
Side it out, yeah.
Yeah,
But
yeah, no, and then you slide it in for games 2 and 3, because the gentleman's agreement and out of game 1. That's a blast from the past from older Yu-Gi-Oh players. But so there is a thing in Magic called a Rule Zero conversation, right?
mhm.
Where you would say, oh, we're about to play a Commander game. What does your deck do that's broken? Basically, it's like, oh, what are you playing? What are you playing? What are you playing? And you gather what all 4 people are playing, and then you're saying, oh, how many? Do you have an infinite combo in your deck? Like, oh, can you just win the game on the spot? Yes. Can you win a game? Yes. Can I? Oh, I don't have one of those infinite combos in my deck. Why don't we just take the infinite combos out and then just play a 2-hour game or whatever? So
This
you can have that conversation. Oh, are you playing Mana Crypt in your deck? Oh, I'm playing Mana Crypt. Okay, well, let me just take out my Mana Crypt and replace it with any card of my binder for just this one game. People do that all the time. You can do that.
I'm really scratching my head to try and understand like the sort of culture and logic of people who play Commander, because I'm trying to like I'm looking at this and I'm just, that doesn't really compute with me. I feel like if you have to have this discussion to gauge what type, so it's like, let's sit down and have a for fun game. If I play a for fun game with someone, I might bring out like Burning Abyss. Someone else's for fun deck could just be like Yubel, right? Like, I don't stand a chance. So you have to sort of have this conversation with 4 people together to sort of, okay, what kind of power level are we on? Let's have that for fun game, right? Like, that's
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
That's
it's like if you're playing Burning Abyss, I'm playing Ubel, uh, MBT's playing Gishkis, and and someone else is playing freaking clowns. It's like how do you have the most fun possible instead of the Ubel player just destroying everybody?
yeah, uh-huh.
So you kind of have that conversation and be like, how can we like lower the power? This sounds so weird with Yu-Gi-Oh context, by the way. How can we lower the power level of your Ubel deck so we have fun?
Exactly. So isn't it good that these kind of cards are banned? Because then it puts everyone on a baseline?
Like the thing is, it doesn't really do that though. The
Okay.
Jewel Lotus and Mana and Dockside Extortionist do not actually give the baseline because there's so many broken cards in that have ever existed in Magic the Gathering, and most of them aren't banned.
Hmm.
There's a card called Ring, which is exactly Mana Crypt, but it's like slightly worse than Commander. My
Mm-hmm.
personal opinion is it's the best card that was ever printed of all time, and it's still legal in Commander, and everyone just still plays it, and you can still have that card.
Okay,
You
further
know,
question. If it's just a for fun format that people just have kind of basically made up themselves, who even cares about it? Just play your Mana Crypt if you want. No? Can people just do that?
that's that's the other side of the discussion.
Right.
People are just like, I'm gonna play this card that I spent my money on anyway. So there's
Yeah.
half the people that are just like, oh my gosh, these cards got banned and we can't play them anymore. I'm mad about this. The other half of people are like, I'm gonna play it anyway. Who cares?
So is there a competitive like commander thing? Because like you don't really need to respect the ban list. Because here's the thing: you're telling me that people sort of just have like if you're gonna play with semi-strangers for commander, you all have to sort of agree. Okay, let's play Burning Abyss as the power level default for this commander pool, or let's all play the equivalent of like full power Snake Eye or whatever, right? So you all have to sort of agree
Yeah.
this baseline. Well, couldn't you also just agree the card pool to some extent? Because you said they already do that, right? So why does this even matter? If there unless there is like competitive Magic commander pods, then ultimately it doesn't matter.
They're It's so funny because they're even thinking about having a separate ban list for specifically competitive commander called CEDH, where Dockside, Jewel Lotus, Mana Crypt, and Nadu are just still legal. Um, but it's interesting because when I played Commander, this is like years ago with my friends, we actually made our own ban list and saying, oh, we can't play all of these powerful cards and combos because we're
Mm-hmm.
just trying to have fun.
Yeah.
Eventually, since we're competitive players, we decided that we just didn't want to ban list and play all the most powerful cards. But people just do that and continue to do that all the time, saying that the rule zero conversation of or make their own ban list. And within that, we're like, okay, well, what cards are already banned? So we went to the commander ban list. This is why it matters. It's like, oh, Grizzlebrand, that's already banned. Oh, Emrakul the Aeon's Torn. Okay, that's banned. Okay. So we didn't actually play with the cards that were already banned, but we also added more cards to our ban list. So I
Mm-hmm.
think it matters in the fact that like, oh, the casual player base trying to have fun, they would look at the commander ban list and see that Dockside, Jewel Lotus, Mana Crypt, and Nadu are banned, and did not play with those, and then also make their ban list. If they already had their Dockside, Jewel Lotus, Mana Crypt, Nadu, and wanted to play with them, I don't see why they wouldn't just be like, okay, well, we want to play with our good cards. So, does it actually matter? Really matter? I don't think so.
Okay, and a final question. Just so I can try and understand the sort of almost cultural setting of what Commander is in Magic. Like, when you, what is the context for people playing Magic? Is it like, okay, we're gonna go to our game store a couple times a week and we're just gonna bang out Magic, bang out some Commander games? Is there regular tournament structures for Commander, or is it completely just like a for fun format 90% of the time? Like, is there
I mean,
Commander
it literally is all three.
YCSs? Hmm?
It literally is all three. It's all three. There's no like YCSs for Commander because it's because the competitive Commander scene isn't that big. But there are CEDH competitive EDH tournaments, and for those of you who don't know what EDH is, Elder Dragon Highlander, which is the original name for Commander before it was Commander. So they do have competitive tournaments for prizes, just like a YCS, but they're just not that big. Also, there are players that say, "Oh, let's get together 2 or 3 times a week and bang out some Commander games." And then also about 90% are just let's have fun. So all three things are correct that you said.
Okay, so I so I feel like maybe the only real justification to be upset about this is people who play competitive Commander. I don't know. Is it justified? Because I feel like if you play competitive Commander, you should probably realize that these are broken cards. If you play for fun, then who cares? Play these cards if you want, because it's a for fun format. As long as your pod all agrees, then what's the problem, right? Because you all just discuss like beforehand, should we play this level of deck? Should we take out this combo? I guess Mana Crypt Jewel Lotus now just becomes another part of that same conversation Commander players were having anyway.
So someone in the chat said we're missing the big picture. You tell me the big picture. Anyway, yes, like I was saying, it doesn't. I don't think it really matters. And even in competitive, they're talking about just like not like ignoring this ban list or making their own competitive Commander ban list. But I think until that happens, they're just going to go by what cards are actually currently banned in Commander from Wizards of the Coast. Like when you see streamed games and YouTube games and things like that on Twitch and YouTube, you're not going to see Dockside, Jewel Lotus, Mana Crypt, and Nadu anymore. But maybe in their free time with their friends, they'll just slap that card back in their deck. Let's go.
Okay. Isn't most of the Commander content on YouTube and stuff like for fun, right? Like it is just personalities and, you know, content creators who are just playing for fun, right? So does the ban list matter?
Yeah, what I was saying before is I don't think so in Commander. I don't think it really does, because you could just play these cards with your friends anyway.
Okay.
The only time it really matters is if you would have to have the conversation with playing against people that you have never met before. Like if you're at MagicCon, if you're at, you know, a YCS of Magic, and you decide to play Commander with a bunch of people you've never seen before, you got to have the conversation. If you just show up with a Jewel Lotus in your deck, people are going to be like, "Whoa, that's a Jewel Lotus. That's banned, right?" So that's kind of like where you would get the, "Oh, I should have had this conversation before." They might just let me play with my Jewel Lotus, and then everyone goes to their binder and grabs their Jewel Lotus that they took out of their deck and just puts it in their deck anyway, and their Mana Crypt. But that's just a conversation they would have to have. Does it really matter? No, not really. But specifically with playing with people you've never played before, yes.
I think the biggest conundrum that really exists for this, because I think it's impossible to really reach a conclusion on what is or isn't correct here, because there's just so many different kind of Commander players, it sounds like. And an example I heard would be like, imagine if Konami decided today to ban Vayu in Edison format. Like, that's a strange thing to do, right?
That would be really strange.
So that's kind of the equivalent of what I've had this explained to me as. And what would that really mean in the grand scheme of Edison format for Yu-Gi-Oh players? Well, again, 90% of Edison games that happen are for fun. So if you want to play Vayu, you can just be like, hey, I'm going to play Vayu Turbo. Is that okay? Whenever the side events at YCSs happen, I guess you would have to abide by that ban list, but I guess I sort of empathize with Magic players, because it would sort of be weird to take this format that isn't really that policed or looked after, and for them to just bring in these like huge waves of bans. But at the same time, go on.
There's actually a different wrinkle of that I wanted to tell you.
Okay.
It's not that they would change Edison. It's that this Commander was never the most popular format of Magic as of a few years ago. This is if Edison became the most popular way to play Yu-Gi-Oh! And then, after everyone realized that, Konami started printing cards to be played directly in Edison. This is what I'm talking about. This is the context where you should be looking at this in. And then they printed some cards that directly into Edison, talking about Dockside, Jewel Lotus, and Nadu, because Mana Crypt has been legal in the Edison format that we are talking about. Nadu, Jewel Lotus, and Dockside Extortionist were cards that later on down the line were created for Edison after the fact, and then they went, and then everyone started playing them in Edison, and then they banned them from Edison. That's what this is.
It's such a bizarre situation. I feel like talking to you has made this even more confusing. I don't. I really don't think like I can actually come to a conclusion on whether or not this is, because I can definitely understand all perspectives, because it is bizarre to have created cards for this format then ban them. But then it's also kind of bizarre to let such powerful cards exist. But then it also begs the question, why did you make them if they're going to be this powerful and bannable? It's it's such a head scratch. I don't know.
I know it is a head scratch, and it would be cool, kind of, right, if Edison became the most powerful, the most popular way to play Yu-Gi-Oh. But like, I just saw a lot of people that wouldn't like that. So, then Konami just started making all these cards for Edison, and then in actual sets, like in the next, I don't know the next Yu-Gi-Oh set coming out. What's the next Yu-Gi-Oh set coming out?
Rage of the Abyss.
What if in Rage of the Abyss, like half the cards were printed just to play in this Edison format, like that they just printed for that format in a new set, like that happened. That just happens in Magic.
That's so weird. I don't know. I feel like Commander has really messed up your game in a positive and negative way, and it just feels like it hasn't really. I don't know. I guess I'd have to be a Magic player to really understand, but it does feel like Commander has put a big wrench into the design space of Magic.
Oh my gosh, it has. And speaking, and I'm going to talk about one of the Commander bands right now, Nadu Winged Wisdom, which we didn't talk about. In testing, they tested Nadu and was like, we don't think it's good enough for Commander, but we want this card to be good in Commander. But the problem is that Nadu Winged Wisdom was in a set that was not designed for Commander, Modern Horizons 3. It's designed for a format called Modern. They overtuned the card to be good in Commander, and it broke Modern in half. Like,
why don't they
the best deck in Modern by a mile. At the Pro Tour, there was everybody in the top 4 was Nadu. It was Nadu. It was like crazy. And then it was even too good for Commander. Like they banned it in Commander, which they tuned the card to be good in. It's just so backwards.
Yeah, I can't imagine what it's like to have a tier 0 meta. Couldn't really think of why that would be a bad thing, or I can't think of any examples of that. So, but yeah, it is weird.
Yeah, no.
Why can't they just like make separate sets? Like just make Commander sets and make. Does that not kind of fix everything?
Oh my god, that's what I've been saying. Make Commander cards in sets for Commander, and then make Modern sets in sets for Modern.
Right, because
they print Commander cards that you could play in Commander in like every set. So we have this like backwards Edison problem where if Konami printed cards in new sets that were designed for this Edison format, like they just do that.
Oof. All right. Well,
so why not have this Edison remastered set and just print a bunch of cards for Edison specifically and don't like put them in the new sets,
But that's also kind of bad in some way because like. Oops. Good job. Sorry. The thing okay. Well, yeah. I mean, I guess that answers a lot of the questions, but it also opens up a million other questions. So.
Yeah, I didn't help you at all, did I?
No, you made it worse actually. So I don't know what to think about this. I just yeah, I guess I feel for these players, but at the same time, it seems logical, but also not. I don't know. Yeah, it's weird. What's like the general sentiment? Like how do is it like a loud minority? I heard it's like a bunch of angry finance bros who are upset that their investments were ruined.
It has a lot to do with the money. Don't get me wrong. There's a lot of people that like have paid a lot of money for their cards and also finance bros, and they don't like to see their cards reduce in value. And Yu-Gi-Oh players don't have this problem anymore because Yu-Gi-Oh players have been like accustomed to a card being $70 for 3 months and then being $3 a month later because there's a huge set that you reprinted a bunch. But Magic players aren't used to that happening, especially in Commander, where you're used to buying one card and you have that one card legal until you die, so you're okay with paying $100 for the card. But they're really sad when their $100 card becomes $7 the next day because it got banned. So money has a lot to do with it.
Yeah. The thing is, as well, it's like I didn't realize Commander was Highlander format. So I mean, unless you've bought like the max rarity Jeweled Lotus, like you haven't lost that much, right? Like it's like what, $70 or something per copy. Maybe I'm just Yu-Gi-Oh brained here, but I feel like your $70 card losing value with a ban list is, especially if you've gotten mileage out of it for years. I don't know, dude. I'm gonna be honest. As a Yu-Gi-Oh player, I feel like that's just the way the game goes. Like we've been used to that for a while.
Yeah, in Magic you don't get the "oh, I've got mileage out of this card" sentiment like you do in Yu-Gi-Oh. It's
Hmm.
like, yeah, it's like whenever Baron, when Barone got banned,
Yeah.
like, "oh, I got my mileage out of this. I paid over $100 for this card. I got my mileage. I'll play this for like a year, or
Yeah.
however long it was legal for."
So Magic
Oh,
players just
now
don't
now
think that way.
oh, now it's banned. Like, Magic players just don't think like that.
Hmm. I guess it's just, yeah, different game, I guess, so makes sense. All right, well, thanks for dropping by. Thanks for explaining this, and I really appreciate your input. So, yeah, plug
Yeah,
some socials and peace out, I
yeah.
suppose.
If you yeah, I'm the one Jame. I'm the one Jame everywhere. The one Jame on YouTube as well and Twitch. If you want to see Farfa rating some Magic the Gathering cards, a couple funny videos on my channel that you should go watch. The one Jame YouTube.
Awesome. All right, thank you.